How's it going? I'm Josh Fairbairn, CEO of MorphoMFG, and today we're going to do another episode of Breaking It Down. So we have two questions on Reddit that I'm going to do my best to answer and hopefully help these people who need some help. So the first one is how to improve the failure rate of commercial electronics when manufacturing overseas. Run a small e-commerce business, electronics are suffering quality issues. Standard electronic failure rate 2 to 3, minus 5 to 8%. I honor my warranty, good. Looking for advice about what other strategies could improve the situation. Manufacture my product in China and factory representative has perfect English, so I don't believe the issue lies with communication. We'll get back to that part. What I've tried: required factory to test the majority of units before sending inventory. Hired an independent third-party quality control and inspection service to test units. Increased my COGS by selecting a higher quality battery and components. Communicated with the factory at length about these issues. So I think the solution honestly is pretty simple, but we'll go through some of the things that you've tried and why they can be good and why they might not be. So when you're talking to the factory representative, I assume, based on my experience, that you're talking to an English major who studied English, has great English, comes out of university and goes to a sales job at a factory, right, where she's getting commission. She's not making the product. He's not making the product. They are not making the product. They will take all the English, translate it into Chinese, talk to the engineer or the project manager. Then the engineer, it's like a game of telephone, right? It's not even necessarily about the English. It's about the process of getting that English into Chinese, into the person that needs to know how to make the product. It's not ever the factory representative. That happens a lot, where the English seems to be on point, and then there's problems that are obviously communication issues. In your case, I don't think that's the issue, and we'll get there. So require the factory to test the majority of units before sending inventory. Okay, good on paper, but what are they gonna do, right? Fix them? Maybe. More likely than not. You're still working with them after this much time, they're probably not even checking. Right? Every factory has internal QC. They're probably doing that, but that's the bare minimum. They're not throwing them back. They're giving them probably more of a good enough check mark, move on. Hired an independent third-party quality control. On paper, again, this is excellent. You should have third parties, right? Checks and balances. The problem with a lot of these companies is they're getting paid. So SGS is one of the biggest ones, and they're very professional. But a lot of the smaller ones, once again, get some pretty low wage workers to go do the quality control. They don't care about your product, right? They're just doing their job. They're checking a list, they're checking things off, and they're going. And a lot of the times, managers or owners of a factory will give them a little bribe so that they sign off on it. And what are you gonna do about it? You can't. By the time it gets to you, it's too late. Increase my COGS. This, I love that, right? Because most of the time when you see factories and problems with quality product, it's because people are nickel and diming them on every component. What do you think's gonna happen if you nickel and dime? You're gonna get shit, and then people are surprised. So increasing your COGS, several times not ideal if it's not working, but selecting higher quality components, paying a little bit more to get a perfect product, right? You're in e-commerce, probably D2C, your margins are fat. The factory's margins are not fat. So giving them a little bit more to work with makes them happier, makes them more willing to work on your product, excited when they get orders from you. I'm a big believer in paying more upfront in order to have longevity, right? In order to be able to scale properly. Communicated with the factory at length about these issues. So again, with all of these things, it's not working. And the simple answer is switch factories. Someone in the comments below talks about sunken cost fallacy, which is big in manufacturing, right? I don't know your product, but I'd imagine you have an outer casing, plastic, probably plastic injection. Right? You have some tooling, some molds. Those things are expensive, and it's hard to like let go. If your problem's not with the molds and you're working with honest people, the molds are yours. You can probably take them and move. It's not an easy process anytime. People don't like to give up on revenue, but you can make it work. My recommendation, now that you've seen all these problems, is start from scratch. Go find new factories. Put 5 or 6 factories against each other and see what comes back, not with price. And I really like your attitude throughout this whole question, because you're not about nickel and diming, you're about making your failure rate more standard, and that's normal. But QC, I think you're trying to solve a problem that's already happened. QC starts from day one. What are the expectations? In our company, we have a document called QCSD, Quality Control Standard Document. On day one, every supplier in the supply chain, customer, us, members of our team, everyone signs. You know exactly what you're making. Then people, it's easy to solve problems before they happen. And too often, as in the case of yours, you're trying to solve a problem that maybe isn't solvable. My recommendation, starts from scratch, start fresh, start with someone new, take the experiences you've got, work with somebody who can help you out and lower that failure rate. On to the next question. I have a new invention ready to slowly release to market, but I'm terrified of being ripped off. Here we go. I invented a completely new novel product, patentable because of novel use. Ta-da! The problem is, while this product is completely new, it could be recreated by a company in under a week. If I released a Kickstarter, I open myself up to being ripped off by China, bigger companies that my product would fit perfectly with, or even people that have more means to take it over and do it themselves. Because of this, my plan of slowly selling to test demand and get early feedback while saving for a patent is shot. Even with a patent, how am I supposed to defend it? My only idea at the moment is to have a strong brand release, there you go, so I'm recognizable and validated, hopefully. Does anyone have any ideas for me? I hate being stuck with a working product in hand, feeling like if I make any move, it will be ripped off from me. Number one, your idea is probably not that good, right? I see 100 ideas a week. In my entire career, I have never seen something where I'm like, whoa, I'm gonna copy that. Now, obviously the Chinese market, they are prone to copies, but who do you think they're copying? They're copying Nike, they're copying Louis Vuitton, they're copying brands, Dr. Dre, Beats, right? They're copying brands that are popular. They're copying those brands because they're easy to make a lot of money by copying them. No one knows who you are, 101010101009. Nobody knows, nobody cares. Seriously, nobody cares. And that's no, I'm not trying to put shade on you. I'm just saying when you have a new idea, it means nothing. Ideas are a dime a dozen. People come up with good ideas all the time. Execution is so important. The one thing that you say that I think is totally real is having a good brand release. Be the brand. For this product, be the brand that has the story, that is able to tell the big picture and to start creating some support, right? You want some support from the fans of what you're doing so that when people do copy you, everyone knows it's a copy and everyone still is willing to pay the premium to get the real thing. I had a guy once come and say, right when I started the business, he said, look, I want to work with you, but I don't want to tell you my idea. I'm like, okay, cool story, bro. And he's like, okay, I will tell you, but you have to sign this NDA and this MMNA. And, he had me sign like 20 documents. So obviously I can't tell you what the product is, but I'll make something up that was equivalent in terms of not being an incredible idea. It was basically like, I want to make a power bank that looks like a CD player, like a CD player. That was the idea. And he made me sign paper and blah, blah, blah. That wasn't the idea, but you get the point. It was just a ridiculous, nobody's going to copy that idea. No one's even going to buy that, first of all, because it's garbage. But that's, I think people have to get in that mindset that no one cares about your ideas. Your ideas are not as special as you think they are. Execution is everything. I've seen incredible ideas do absolutely nothing. And I've seen garbage ideas kill it because they executed properly. They had all of their ducks in a row. They knew how to make a successful brand and how to launch it. They had a proper team, right? Those things are so much more important. While I'm not obviously saying that copying ideas are good, there obviously is a lot of that goes on, but far too often it's people's first priority. One of my mentors used to always say, if you don't have any revenue, you're not a business, right? People are worried about people copying their ideas. People are worried about beautiful business cards. People are worried about good design and a Instagram. You haven't sold anything. You don't even know if people want your idea. Just because you think it's a good idea doesn't mean other people will. And it certainly doesn't mean they'll copy. All right, that's it for today. Another episode of Breaking It Down. Peace.